Hello, future cadets. I hope all of you are staying safe and studying hard. Welcome to another session of Worthy Talks, where we invite worthy people because in WorthyShala we have a firm belief that if you are worthy, then you would get the worthy that you desire. So, in Worthy Talks, today we'll be having an amazing guest, a guest that we have been very privileged to host, Commodore Vijaypal Singh Rawat sir, and we'll be talking everything right from his preparation days up to his days in the service. Why should one aspire for Navy and everything that is in between? So I would request everyone, Saurabh, Karoya Maro, Shishir, Jai Hind, Nilesh, Crazy Thor, Rahul, and everyone else to quickly share the session so that maximum people can benefit from this. As we have requested everyone to post their doubts, so I have collated the doubts, and whatever you wanted to know from sir, I'll try to include as much as possible in today's session. So just quickly share the session, the Insta live on various social media handles that you have, so that maximum people can benefit from it. Hello Ved, Digvijay, Shubham, Arav, quickly share it guys so that we can invite sir for today's session. It is going to be a very interesting session. आप लोगों की जो भी क्वेरीज हैं, वट एवर यू वॉन्ट टू नो मार्कोस के बारे में, और एक सर के बारे में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, सर गॉट 555 मार्क्स इन SSB NDA का. लाइक दैट इज द हाईएस्ट दैट आई हैव एवर सीन इन माय लाइफ. सो 555 मतलब बीड़ी का ही नंबर नहीं होता, 555 SSB में सर के मार्क्स थे बैक इन हिज डेज. सो यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड लाइक वो SSB का भी जो सर एक विजडम दे सकते हैं डिस्टिल्ड, वो दैट इज हाउ यूजफुल दैट विजडम वुड बी. Shubham, I'll take that query during the session. I'll request sir to answer that as well. I have requested sir to quickly log in. Thanks a lot, Saurabh, कार्तिकेय, श्रेया, जो भी आप लोगों के डाउट्स हैं गाइज, वील टेक ऑल दोज डाउट्स ऑन बोर्ड. सो डोंट वरी, आई विल हैव ईच एंड एवरी ऑफ योर डाउट. मतलब राइट फ्रॉम प्रिपरेशन, आप में से काफी लोग मार्कोस की ट्रेनिंग कैसी होती है, व्हाट इज दिस ब्लड ओथ, ये सब चीजें जो हैं, ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स विल ट्राई टू डील इन टुडेज सेशन. हेलो ध्रुव, एक बार फटाफट सारे स्टूडेंट शेयर कर दो सो दैट आई कैन इनवाइट सर एंड देन वी कैन स्टार्ट. Yeah, we'll be posting the recorded videos on YouTube. Yes, meme channel and everything we'll plan. विशाल, मैवरिक, ऑफिशियल, जितेंद्र, कुलदीप, आशीष, रामजी, बढ़िया है सौरभ. वील पोस्ट और भी यार काफी सारी वीडियोस आर ऑन अभी इन द पाइपलाइन. वी हैड वन सेशन विद असिस्टेंट कमांडेंट दीक्षा मैम, ITBP की वन ऑफ द फर्स्ट फीमेल ऑफिसर्स. So that was a very interesting session for all those people who are interested in joining. So ITBP AC is a great opportunity. You can explore that. So guys, finally sir is here. Let's welcome sir for today's session. So, Jatin, Shivani, Ankit, Jitendra, Maverick.
Hello, good morning. How are
Good
you,
morning.
Akshay?
Good morning, sir. Thanks a lot for taking the time out for this session. I know the past month has been very busy for you, and the Indian Idol show was great, sir. Congratulations. Very happy to see that show.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So, okay,
Sir, how have you been, sir?
I've been fine. How about you?
I'm great, sir, as well. We always wanted to have you on show because, sir, your story is such an inspiring one that, first of all, very few naval officers are there in the public domain who can spread awareness regarding Navy. So, sir, let's start with Navy first of all. Why Navy,
Okay.
sir? In a country that has been said that it has been sea blind for a while, geostrategically speaking, in that
Okay.
space, why one should become a naval officer?
See, actually, if the three-fourths of the earth is water. Okay. So, and 90% of the business by volume in the world actually travels by water, through the seas. Okay. Any country which has become great in the past and which is presently the greatest country in the world has all used the sea as a medium for power projection as well as for enhancing their and developing the economy. So sea plays a very important role in the development of any country, including the security aspect of the country. Okay. Now, this being the premise, India is in a unique strategically located position where it is actually sitting astride the Indian Ocean region, where almost 80% of the trade passes through the Indian Ocean region on a yearly basis. So this is the importance of the medium of sea, which people who are not initiated into maritime affairs will not come to know about it. Unfortunately, in our country, because of various reasons, we have become very land-centric. That means we look at everything from the perspective of land, whereas you have to have a holistic view where you have to see everything. So this is the background of why Navy is important. Now, coming to why I joined the Navy, the very simple reason is that my father was in the Navy. Actually, I belong to Uttarakhand, and as you are aware, Uttarakhand is a place where maximum people, their first option is to join the armed forces. So my entire family, from my grandfathers, both my paternal grandfather and maternal grandfather, their families, and my father, everybody is in the armed forces. So my father was in the Navy. And by virtue of me, living with him in a naval environment and studying with kids, students in my class who were also oriented towards joining the Navy. So it was an obvious choice to join the Navy. And also a little bit of peer pressure for my family to join the Navy through the National Defense Academy. So that's it.
Sir, I'll come to the Navy and the updates that have happened in on Navy. But sir, your history, family background of Uttarakhand, Uttarakhand has produced soldiers right from the beginning. Veer Chand Singh Gadwali, General B.C. Joshi, Admiral D.K. Joshi, and the latest, the two CDs, all of them have come from Uttarakhand. So, is there something unique in the soil that produced soldiers? Sir, do you believe that is there something in the soil itself that produced soldiers?
No, to abuse myself, being a Uttarakhandi, I can believe that, but that's not true. Because there have been people from various parts of India who have done very well, who have joined the armed forces, and they've done very well for themselves. And today also people from various parts of the country join the armed forces and they serve with pride. So it so happens that Uttarakhand being a small state, so if you take ratio-wise, perhaps there are more people joining the armed forces as compared to other states. The other probable reason I would find is, which I can guess, is that when the Britishers came to India, they divided some races into martial race and non-martial race and all. So I guess they found the people from the hills, the Gurkhas, Gadwalis, Kumaonis, as more fierce fighters and more loyal. And as a result, perhaps there was immediate choice to recruit from this area, and that is why probably a production line actually started, where the first option for most of the people was to join the armed forces. And but then there are other places like you see Punjab, you see Haryana, you see Uttar Pradesh, and so many countries in the south, so many states in the south, which are also having adequate representation in the armed forces.
Sir,
The
so
other,
yeah, yeah, please, sir, go ahead, sir.
sorry, the other important factor is that if you see, the mountains are actually not very good place for doing a lot of economic development. At least it takes a lot of capital investment to do a lot of development there. So the means of eking out a living is rather difficult as compared to the plains and other places. And that would be the reason why maximum people opted for joining government service, including the armed forces and also the paramilitary forces, where they could actually eke out a living in a very easy and smooth manner.
सर वो इट इज कॉमनली सेड इन हिंदी की पहाड़ का पानी और पहाड़ की जवानी दोनों पहाड़ के काम नहीं आती बट इट्स ग्रेट दैट पीपल लाइक यू हैव बीन यूजफुल टू बोथ सो सर हैट्स ऑफ टू यू फॉर दैट सर आपकी एनडीए की जर्नी आई वुड लाइक टू नो कमिंग फ्रॉम अ फौजी बैकग्राउंड हाउ वाज दैट फेज व्हेन यू वर ऑलवेज एस्पायरिंग टू जॉइन द अकेडमी एंड आई हैव हर्ड दिस दैट यू वर नॉट एबल टू सेल थ्रू द रिटन इन द फर्स्ट स्टेप in the first attempt. Sir, so a lot of people face this problem that once they fail, they stop giving the attempt. So how did you motivate yourself during that failure all of it?
See, as I told you, I come from an armed forces background. My father was always motivating us to join the armed forces. And my father was posted 4 times to National Defense Academy as an instructor. So twice when I was in my years where I can recall what NDA was, so I would say 2 tenures of my father, last 2 tenures of my father, I was actually able to realize what is happening in National Defense Academy. My elder brother also joined NDA, his 58th course. And in 1978, he joined National Defense Academy. And my younger brother is also ex-NDA. So it's sort of a family lineage. And because we were in Cochin. I remember when I was in class 8 onwards to class 12, I was a good student, and in fact, I stood second in my school when we passed out. So there was a general awareness of people to join the armed forces, and so that was one. And in those days, you could join NDA after qualifying class 11th. You don't have to wait till class 12th. It started much later than when we joined. So obviously, I wrote the exam in class 11th, and I would rather say it was more of condescending attitude and maybe overconfidence on my part, thinking that since I'm a topper of my school and class I has to do very well, so I would just easily sail through. But I was wrong because it's a very competitive field, and I should have paid more attention and given more focus towards preparing for this exam, which I did, and I didn't qualify. So then, of course, it became more of a personal ego hassle that, how come a student who's good in academics and, my parents had a lot of expectations from me and I could not qualify NDA. So then next time when I appeared, I really worked very hard. And then I was all over India 21st in merit when I joined the National Defense Academy. So the motivation for joining the National Defense Academy was always in my family. And also my peer group, because everybody was those days appearing for the National Defense Academy. Because हमारे time पे क्या होता था कि there are only 3 avenues available. The first avenue was National Defense Academy because that exam was after class 11th. The other 2 avenues were medical and engineering, which was after class 12th. So a lot of people didn't want to wait till class 12th. You'll be surprised to know that in my 68 course National Defense Academy where I belong to, there are a lot of people who cleared IIT, joined IIT, left IIT and other regional engineering colleges and continued in NDA. So that was a sort of a craze. And all these people belong to a Fauji background.
Sir, if I may, sir, so that happened till our times also. So I was allotted IIT Patna after my class 12, but since I also belong to the same land as yours, and there was this push from my family, both from maternal as paternal side, both sides being related to FOSS. So they said, no, IIT is something that you can always do engineering, but this is once in a time opportunity. So they decided for NDA. Sir, I am very inspired to know this, that from not able to qualify the written up to getting All India rank 21, that's a mammoth leap that you have shown in your progress in the written. So not only you got 555 marks, that's one of the highest scores that I have ever heard in SSB. You also must have got great marks in written. So sir, I would first focus on the SSB part. A lot of people think that it's an enigma wrapped in a mystery, this SSB preparation. So how do we declutter that SSB preparation? If you were to advise a younger Vijay of how to prepare for his SSB, he has 1 year, 2 years. So how should he go about this?
See, I always maintain the fact that SSB is not something which you can prepare into 1, 2 months, 3 months. It's not like a quick fix solution that you go to a coaching center and you can prepare yourself for SSB. The preparation for the civil selection board, and as a matter of fact, for any high-end interview, I would say, where there is a strong competition, starts at a very early age. In my school days, I was generally always the the class monitor, and my parents used to encourage us to take part in sports activities and also in co-curricular activities. I belong to Kendra Vidyalaya, and there, every Saturday we used to have 2 periods for now it's called socially useful productive activities, but earlier days it used to be called co-curricular activities. So where we could do dramatics, we could take part in lecture competitions and kavita recitation competitions and story writing competitions and all. So what happens if you do all these things, then there is automatically, without you even realizing it, there is an enhancement in your personality, your confidence level increases. So this is what happened in school, and then in class 12th, I was a school captain also, and I was a sports captain, and I was generally an all-rounder. And my teachers used to say that I'm ideal fit for joining the armed forces. So that is one. Now, for those people who unfortunately have not been good students in school and have not taken part in so much of activities, so they don't have to worry, because what happens, you can always improve. And there are two, three important things. Personality is a very, very important aspect. And if you have a good personality, and when I say good personality, it doesn't mean only good looks. Good personality starts from how do you communicate with people. Communication skills means effective command and control of language, both in English as well as Hindi, is a very important thing. And that is entirely up to you how you develop it. Number two is general awareness of what is happening around. General knowledge, as I call, is something which should be endemic in you. You should be always looking forward for what is happening in the world, geopolitics, and what is happening in the country. I'm not talking about politics at all, because in the armed forces we don't encourage anything to do with politics. But anything apart from politics, like sports is there, Olympics just recently happened, World Cup happened. You should know about that. So general awareness is something which is very subjective in nature. But there is always avenues for you to prepare and focus accordingly. So in my view, number one, you have to develop your personality, and that can be done at any point in time, because there is no stopping to learning. And number two, you will have good general awareness. And third, of course, you should have expertise on your on a specific field. Like if you are a science student, you passed out class 12th in science, then you should have clear fundamental. The fundamental of science should be very clear. Now, I find very surprising when I ask some people who are engineers, how does the ship float in water, and they are unable to answer the simple question, Archimedes principle, and how does an aircraft fly? People are unable to answer. Bernoulli's theorem actually acts there. So there are some of the things which, study by rote is one thing, but one has to be very clear about the fundamentals of science. Similarly, if you are an art student, you should know more about history and economy and the other important subjects which are included in the art subjects. So this is what the way you can actually prepare yourself for SSB. And I would say that although I am not a big votary of people joining SSB coaching center, but I think you can grab an SSB guide and go through it yourself and then see how it happens. But if you join the SSB coaching center, it might give you a little bit of insight into what is the procedure which takes place there and how it happens, because those people who are actually running this SSB coaching centers have been IOs and GTOs in the SSB, so they can actually provide better and clearer insight. Ultimately, it is your effort, because you can take the horse to water, but you cannot make him drink water. So this is the adage which applies here also. So actually, it is simple, it's not very difficult. Yes, I scored 555 marks, which is perhaps one of the highest at that point in time. And I really don't know how I scored so many marks, because I guess the reason my principal chose me as a school captain based on my personality and all those things, I guess there was a hidden meaning there, that I would be able to perform very good in any interview because of my all-round capabilities. So that is the only reason. Otherwise, I don't find any. I did not actually prepare for SSB, by the way. Yes, there was one retired naval officer, and he was staying in Cochin, and somebody suggested that now that you're going for SSB, why don't you just sit with him for half an hour, and he can guide you through the process. So I went to him, and he says, "Ki half an hour will not do. At least you come for 3-4 days to my house." So I, along with my another classmate, both of us qualified NDA. Unfortunately, he was medically unfit. So both of us went to him. We spent a couple of hours with him for 3-4 days, and I realized that perhaps he was able to help us in isometric tests. All the psychological tests which are there. It was very important. He gave us a clearer insight as to how do you get positivity in all your answers and all. So that was something which I thought perhaps was of some value to me and to my classmate who eventually cleared the SSB. So,
Sir, since you have, yeah.
so what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to bank on the SSB coaching. That is one small aspect. Like when people appear for any competitive exam these days, they study on their own. At the same time, they also go to quota and coaching classes. All that all happens. But how many people pass? Ultimately, the people who pass are those people who have prepared themselves for this kind of examination without they knowing about it right from the childhood till the time they pass in class 12. This is what I feel and very strongly.
Sir, since you have scored great marks and you have been in the services for such a long time, do you believe these officer-like qualities, as they are touted as, are they intrinsic to an individual that they have developed in the childhood itself, or they can be inculcated over a period of time?
See, if you see, when you say officer-like qualities, they are essentially leadership qualities. And, everyone has got some positive or negative quality. Everyone is born with some qualities, Like personality of the people, there are three types. One is that what was genetically bestowed upon you by your parents. Second is, when you are from 2 years to 7-8 years, when you stay essentially more with your parents and, within your family. So what actually happens, it booms you. And third is when you step out and when you go out, when meet your colleagues and all in college, school and all, and then you develop a different kind of personality. Similarly, this officer-like qualities can also be developed and the leadership qualities can be developed. See, when I say, are you born with leadership qualities? I would say yes. Some people are, lucky to be born with this kind of leadership qualities, but those are far and few between. Like we talk about, great leaders of the world. They could be. You can say that they're born with leadership qualities. But when I'm talking about average people. Because all the rules and regulations in the world are framed for average people. So when it comes to average people like you and me, I think. Uh, Leadership qualities can be developed. And National Defense Academy is the cradle of leadership, that's what they call. And throughout our training in the National Defense Academy, and thereafter when people go to the Specialist Academy like IMA, INA, and also the Air Force Academy, the thrust is focuses on developing leadership quality, which is OLQ. And then when you go join your respective services, there also initial few years, there is a due focus given only on developing your leadership qualities. So yes, leadership qualities can be developed, but it takes a lot of time and effort, and it has to be done in a very methodical manner. You cannot have adhocism anywhere to develop leadership qualities. That's what I want to say.
Sir, if we were to make a checklist, what are the things that one can do to develop those skills and
See,
qualities?
number one, you need to focus on developing your personality. And for developing your personality, the first thing is that communication skills. The second thing is general awareness, I told you. The third thing is command over the subject which you are actually studying. These three things. The other aspects are interpersonal relations. How do you interact with your colleagues, your seniors, your juniors, your classmates? How do you give respect and respectfully talk to your teachers, your parents, your parents, friends, and all? These are some of the things. Then you have to keep yourself physically fit. When I say physically fit, it doesn't mean that you have to be pumping iron in the gym. Physically fit means with respect to what you feel is a requirement for your body to act upon, that you should be able to do it easily. Like you walk, run, little bit of push-ups and all. So if you want to join the armed forces, obviously you have to be physically robust. And there is also something called as physical courage. Now, physical courage for develop करने के लिए, you need to have the confidence that you can take on the tasking which is given to you. So physical courage you have to develop. Then overall, grooming, which is part of the personality. And I guess there are a few things, interpersonal relationship, communication skills, your general awareness, command over your subject of expertise, and general I would say this what you call, and developing self confidence. All this thing put together can actually make you a good leader.
Awesome, sir. So guys, you have got a checklist. Just go through it before your SSB, and hopefully you will also get 500 plus one SSB of your NDA.
No, but this is not a complete checklist because, as I told you, that there is no end to learning. So there are some of the things which I feel that, and if I see on some people, and these 5-6 yardsticks I see on some people, obviously then I find that that guy is right now suitable for being a commissioned officer in the armed forces.
Right, sir. Sir, now let's move to NDA. So, how was that feeling of joining NDA? NDA ke which squadron you got? I guess India squadron was the one that you were allotted to. And how was the academy life, camps, Torna, Greenhorn? How was the academy life like?
NDA was like जोर का झटका बहुत जोर से लगे times. So let me tell you, NDA is a cradle of leadership, and that is the place where they make you suddenly grow from a teenager. Because NDA you join at the age of 17, 18, and then thereafter 21 you pass out from NDA. So you are actually transiting from teenage to adulthood, and they make you very strong physically and mentally, and you are also pursuing your graduation simultaneously, and leadership qualities are being developed. So now to develop leadership qualities, there are a lot of things that are done in NDA. The routine itself is very, very martial and what I would say very Spartan kind of routine, where you get up early in the morning, 5 o'clock the day starts and day ends at 10 o'clock. This is the normal routine. I'm not talking about a ragada with the seniors, which happens after pipe down, after lights out. So all those things are also there, and these are all very important, stepping stones. It's like Lego toy. You keep on blocks, and it builds your personality some way or the other. So you don't get time to breathe. It is one after the other. You start with PT in the morning, for which is 1 hour. Thereafter you have drill, PT parade and all, and thereafter you come back, have your breakfast, and then you rush to the classes. And the classes happen till 1:30. You are a science student, you are an art student, and thereafter afternoon again you have some either classes or you have some remedial exercises. Then in the evening you have sports activities compulsory. Then you come back, then you have study period for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and thereafter you go to the mess and have your dinner, and then come back and then you sleep by 10 o'clock. Then the other activities start, and of course it is all other activities means it's something like when the seniors do not like the kind of behavior you have displayed during the day, then some people do get tasks extra. So that happens. So this goes on for 3 years, and it's a very methodical way of training. And without you even realizing what is happening, your body is developing, your mind is developing, physical courage is developing, your attitude of loyalty towards an organization develops, and your ability to take orders develops. Your ability not to refuse any order develops, your positivity develops, and overall, the self-confidence of a person actually develops. Because, apart from academics, apart from this physical fitness exercises, you're also doing horse riding, some people are doing gliding, you're doing sailing, and, you're doing cross countries. And as you talked about, the Greenhorn camp in the second term, which is a basic camp, then the 4th term camp, which is called Camp Rovers. And incidentally, Camp Rovers is supposed to be the most difficult camp in the world for that age group. And then we have a 6th term camp, and so all these things. Outdoor camps are not like normal camps that kids go and all. They set up a tent and this. It's a by God military camp where routine is about almost 20 hours a day. You are actually doing physical activity. So all these things are primers for you. Not only primers, but also they facilitate your development and grooming into a fine leader. Ultimately, the whole aim of National Defense Academy and thereafter the other academy is to make leader out of a kid who has joined these institutions. And you're leading men into battle. And battle is not a very easy thing because, there are losses of life and the people get injured and there is a lot of social pressure after these things happen. So you are taking the responsibility of leading your men to battle. So you have to be groomed in such a manner that you are able to do it in a very effective manner. And that is, I guess, what I would talk about National Defense Academy. Whereas though there are times when There are some lighter moments in India also, and there are some difficult moments in India. There are people, I ask you, tell you very frankly, my elder brother was in India before me. He never told me the hardships of India. So what he told me is what I as a kid saw in India. It was more of a glamour. I could see from my house there was a horse riding, range there, and then people used to do cadets used to do horse riding. I used to see cadet doing parade, and I used to see cadet running. So I thought this is more glamorous. But once you're into it, then you realize the devil lies in details. So, but overall, a very good experience, and perhaps lucky to be in National Academy.
Right. Sir, it is said that to be a good leader, you have to be a great follower. And I believe in NDA, it inculcates that in us in a great way by the overstudy, understudy concept. And everyone has
Yeah,
a great story when they were understudy and a great story when they were overstudy. Do you have
correct.
some incidents when you were an UNDI and when you became an overstudy?
See, when I was understudy, of course, my overstudy was trying to guide me through, and the way they guide you in NDA is slightly different. You know it, you are ex-NDA. There is a lot of punishment which happens, the seniors give you. Now, when I talk about activities after 10 o'clock, now it's not a daily affair, and it is discouraged by the administration of National Academy. But it does happen, and I'm not a big votary of that also, because I personally did not trouble anybody after 10 o'clock at night when I became senior. But I guess when I was in junior term, me along with my entire postmates would get troubled once a while. But those, I guess, now in hindsight you realize, because hindsight is always 6 by 6, you realize that those are all building blocks for you to understand. To be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. And when you say you have to be a good follower, you can only be a good follower if you're able to take all the kind of nonsensical things which are told by the seniors to follow. Because see, frankly, in NDA, when you become a follower of your seniors' orders, so there is no harm. Nothing is getting affected. There is no, because he doesn't have a responsibility of his men, because he is still a cadet. You don't have any responsibility. But it's some kind of coordination happens. And you get an idea that, this is how we will have to behave in the armed forces. Now tell me in Kargil, 19,000 feet, minus 19 degrees temperature. You try to dislodge people who are sitting on top. Now tell me, how will you follow the orders of your senior when he tells you go and occupy it? Now, for a logical mind, this is the most illogical order somebody will give. But tell me, is there any case of somebody saying in Kargil war, if you know, has anybody said, no, I will not do it? Never. Now, how does this feeling develop in a person? You're not born with this kind of feeling. This is also part of leadership. And to some extent, it is inculcated when you are undergoing this kind of training in National Defence Academy and the other academies, because of the stringent training during the working hours and off working hours, when the seniors drill into you, look, senior is a senior and you have to follow him, come what may. So that's what I would say about training in India.
Sir, also, since you are a naval cadet and naval cadet also have stories of the Khadakwasa Lake, stories around the Khadakwasa Lake. So how was your 6th term specifically when 4 specific courses come, and how was that when you were learning to sail for the first time?
Yeah, sailing is an art by itself, and all the naval cadets who supposed to sail used to go to Peacock Bay, cycling, it was up the hill and down the hill. So that was one experience. And soon after lunch, we used to go over sailing. It used to take us about 30-40 minutes cycling down to reach that area. And then we used to sail, there used to be a standard sailboat, a whaler class, and then we used to put the sails and do the sailing. I would say, as compared to the normal routine of NDA, this was one of the easier routine to do sailing. But more than that, we should do lake swimming, which was one of the competitions we used to have. So that was one interesting thing which I used to like there. Otherwise, apart from that, there's nothing very difficult about sailing. It was interesting because it gave you more relaxed time as compared to other activities.
Also, sir, since you have been one of those torch bearers of India's squadron, I have heard during your time in the academy, won those medals for the squad. So how were you treated in the squadron? Also, sir, tell us something about your cross-country experience during the academy.
So, see, I was in India squadron, and When I joined India Squadron from Gurpudi, there used to be a place called Gurpudi. Cadets used to be, first termers used to be trained there, then second term they used to come to NDA. So we were the champion squadron that time. And thereafter, of course, we never came, became in the first five also in my entire 3 years. There was we didn't have far too many good athletes in our squadron, and I was fortunately good athlete. I used to win medals in long jump and triple jump. I used to win medals in boxing, and I was in academy football team, and I was also in academy hockey team. So because of this kind of thing, and you would know exactly that not very many people have this kind of achievements. So I used to be given special treatment, and some of the ragadas which used to happen, I used to skip it because of my activities in other fields where I used to get something for the squadron. I remember when I got the boxing medal for the first time. So the people push you up and throw you up. They were throwing me up, my seniors and juniors, and they hoisted me so high I could actually go about 15 feet and then fall in the hands. And 15, 20 feet you can actually see in the squadron outside India written. You could actually see India falling down, and they used to hold you properly. So that was one good thing about being recognized by the seniors for the achievement which you brought for the squadron.
That's great, sir. So, sir, after NDA getting commissioned into the Navy, so, sir, let's talk of some of the courses. So, this clearance diving course, that is one of the most prestigious course that naval officers undergo. And, sir, people have limited understanding of diving. Ordinary mortals are like us, just know that there is this nitrogen, then you suffer from vent. So, how is this actual experience of going down water and staying underwater for such a long time, especially clearance diving, if you can enlighten us about what is this?
So actually, clearance diving is basically why the word clearance is because we are trained to go underwater and diffuse sea mines, so that and clear the area and clear the beaches for further naval operation. That's why it's called clearance. The second aspect is that you have to go underwater and taking your liquid mines in your hand and swim all the way into the enemy harbor or the areas where the enemy presence is there, and put the liquid mines on their floating platforms like ships and boats and all, and destroy them. So these two are the primary aim of the clearance divers. Now Marine Commandos do the same thing along with clearance divers. So since water is a difficult media as compared to land for any activity, so you have to have a very strong physical fitness levels, and accordingly the training itself is shaped in such a manner to develop these kind of qualities in you. So during diving course, which was I did for about 8 months, we used to have the day started at 5 o'clock and they used to end at 8 o'clock in the evening. And in that period of between 5 in the morning to 8 in the evening, we have done at least 20-30 kilometers running, 2-3 hours of commando PT, battle obstacle course, then swimming, jumping from the 10 meters high bridge and into the sea, and then swim about 2-3 nautical miles. 1 nautical mile is equal to 1.8 kilometers, and thereafter dive underwater for 4 to 5 hours, crisscrossing the Cochin Channel. Cochin Channel is the channel where the ship move, and the width of the channel is about 300 to 400, I would say half a kilometer. So we should do crisscross it as part of the diving training. So this was a difficult phase, and it's actually quite dive-breaking training. It happened for 8 months. Coming to your aspect of, see, when we are breathing normal air in 1 atmosphere pressure, I mean, in Earth has got 1 atmosphere pressure. Here we have 80% nitrogen and other gases and 20% oxygen. Human body requires only 3.5% of oxygen to survive. In other words, when you are breathing in normal air, your body is consuming only 3.5% of oxygen. Balance oxygen is actually being exhaled out. So that is one factor. Secondly, as you go underwater, when you reach 10 meters depth, the pressure doubles. That means the pressure exerted on your body from all around in ambient sea conditions makes the pressure twice. So when the pressure becomes twice, then the things like Boyle's law and Charles' law and all this can come into play, where where the partial pressure of the air which is there comes into play. And second thing is that as you go deeper, so nitrogen which is existing in the air start getting dissolving in your body. Now, there's so nitrogen in terms of small bubbles get dissolved in the body. Now, after you've worked for some time at a particular depth, and when you're coming up, then as air from low pressure, from a high pressure, you come into the low pressure, the volume of the air increases. And if just imagine if the small bubbles which are formed in the body as you come up, nitrogen start becoming bigger and bigger, it can actually go to a central nervous system, it can go to your heart and actually then perhaps paralyze you, or it can actually have it could lead to fatality also. So what you have to do is that you have to ensure that you have to remove all the nitrogen which is there in your body, and that is done by means of a process called decompression. So whenever we are diving, so there's a dive table. So there's a dive table, and that dive table nothing but a table which tells you that if you go to a depth of 35 meters and you're wearing air diving set, then and you stay in 35 meters for more than 10 minutes, then when you come up, you have to do decompression as follows. Come to 18 meters, stay for 5 minutes. Then come to 9 meters, stay for 10 minutes. Then come to 6 meters, stay for 10 minutes. Then come to 3 meters and stay for 5 minutes. And then come up to surface. These are called decompression stops. And they are essential because if you don't do that, then you land up in bends and other kind of diseases which I just mentioned to you, which sometimes it could be fatal also. Now this is when you're diving with normal air. Now, if you're diving, when you do combat diving, you dive with pure oxygen, 100% oxygen. So you dive with pure oxygen, and that is because the pure oxygen doesn't have nitrogen. It has got 100% oxygen. So you're getting 100% oxygen. And then when you exhale, it is a closed diving set. That means you inhale from one tube and exhale from the other tube, and the exhale air, oxygen along with some element of CO2 goes into your diving set, which has got a CO2 absorbent. So it absorbs the CO2 and converts that into oxygen, and this process goes on. So you, as a result, you get longer endurance. So you can dive for about 3 hours in one go. And secondly, there are no bubbles which are coming up from the air from the diving set. So if you're working under the enemy ship and enemy is watching you, and bubbles are coming up, they'll know that something is here, and they will just start firing at you. So this ensures that there's no bubbles is going up, so nobody knows exactly. So you come silent, you do a job, and you go back silent. That's one thing. The third thing is that coming back to the aspect of nitrogen issues. So what happens? People have realized that if you vary the percentage of nitrogen in the air of a diving cylinder, which is contained in the diving cylinder, in terms of percentage, like for instead of 80%, make it 60%, make it 40% oxygen, or you make it 30% oxygen and 70% nitrogen, you can actually go to deeper depths, and you can stay for longer time while maintaining the same amount of decompression time. So in diving, the most important thing is that diving is also in the commercial field. It's a full-fledged commercial activity. So now in commerce, money is more important, time is more important. So if you're diving to, let's say, 75 meters, obviously you cannot dive with air, and there's a reason for it. I don't want to tell people because then it will become a diving class. So when you go deeper, they start now using inert gases like helium. So helium and oxygen, they mix together and then you dive. So what happens? They've realized that if you go to, let's say, 100 meters depth and use oxy-helium mixture, you have taken 8 hours to go there, then you take some hours to saturate your body with that kind of helium-oxygen mixture. Then you can work for 15, 20 days there. And then when you come up, the decompression time, let's say, would be about 48 hours or 72 hours. I mean, there's a table for that also. So effectively, you've done more work underwater. So that's called saturation diving. So that's another element of diving, and it's a very, very specialist kind of field. So in short, I've told you what is diving. For the cadets, they should know that.
My mind got just stuck at that level. Sir, you were running 20-30 kilometers a day, then doing the regular PT, and then going for diving. And this is a schedule that you have to follow over 8 months. So, sir, how was like an ordinary mortal be able to do all those things, like doing all those rigorous exercise and then going for diving? So, how did that energy come, sir?
See, पहली बात तो ये है कि if you are not up to it, then you will not offer diving course. So not very many people qualify the diving course because of this physical and mental rigor. So if you feel that you are physically fit, you can do so much of your body can take so much of physical fatigue, and your mind can take so much of mental I would not say torture, but mental aspects, then probably you volunteer. So generally, the people who volunteer for diving course are those guys who are thoroughbred, who know that they can do this, and then they come forward doing this course. And despite that, a lot of people are not able to qualify.
कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा, खुशी के गीत गाए जा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की।